Hey guys, it's Matt. And Bigger Pockets sent me a question that was submitted by one of their members, and I wanted to answer the question right here for you. So here's how the question goes. I have two young kids and a mortgage. I'm looking for small victories, not home runs. What are some specific low-risk paths I can take in real estate investing? Well, interesting question. I mean, I get not everything has to be a home run. You don't want to jeopardize those two young kids or jeopardize your ability to pay that mortgage you got. So it's an interesting question, and it gets into the conversation of active versus passive investing in real estate. And there's many ways you can be very successful investing passively in real estate. So here's how active and passive investing breaks down, right? So you've got active investors like myself that are doing this thing full time. Then you've got passive investors that perhaps have a mortgage, a job, and a couple of kids, and perhaps a job that they love and they don't want to leave, and they want to do more passive investing. So an active investor is putting in, most importantly, their time. Okay? They're also probably putting in plenty of money too to get their business set up. They're putting in their network, right? They're putting in their resources. They're putting in people. If they have employees, they're putting in, even if they have subcontractors, those are people too. And they're putting in a lot of the doing, right? I call these people the doers. And they're also investors. They're also investors too, but they're doing a lot of the doing in an investment. So the passive investors are putting in primarily money, right? Now they're putting in a lot of wherewithal, and they're putting in research, and they're putting in a lot of education, right? Because you shouldn't just go throwing money into this business. So they're putting in some education, right? And perhaps their network too. You shouldn't just start throwing money into this game, like I said. So those are things that go in under passive investing. So the question is that this member had is, if you're a passive investor, what are some things you can get into? Now, active investors can do all kinds of fun stuff. Like active investors can do things like fix and flips. I don't recommend you doing passive investments on fix and flips. Fix and flips require a lot of day-to-day management to keep the trains on the track, and to keep everything running on time, and to keep the job profitable. Fix and flips require, I think, daily interaction. Passive investors can get involved in all kinds of fun stuff. So here are a few things that as a passive investor you could get yourself involved in, especially if you got two kids and a mortgage and you're looking for small victories, not home runs, right? So these things could be, this is a really, not too many people talk about these things. I probably should talk more about this on Bigger Pockets than I do, but tax lien investments, right? And you can't do them in all states, but you can, if you live in one state that doesn't do tax liens, you can invest in other states. I happen to know in New Jersey, you can invest in tax liens. So here's what a tax lien is in a really, really tight format. A tax lien is, let's say you live in a municipality and you decide not to pay your real estate taxes. Well, unfortunately, it's the world we live in. The municipality, that local government of that town that's charging those real estate taxes, they've already spent that money, and so they can't account for people not paying their real estate taxes, and they wouldn't be able to keep the town running, and so they need that money. So what they'll do is, if a homeowner or a business or anybody that owns a property doesn't pay their real estate taxes, every here and again, the town will hold a real estate tax lien auction. And an investor can show up, and a lot of these auctions are held online now, and you can come in and buy that real estate tax debt. The town gets their money. They can then go out and shovel the snow and pay the salaries and to keep the lights on in the town. And that tax lien investor then owns that tax debt, and they also own the rights that come along with it. Those rights include the right to charge interest to the owner, and in most places that interest is 18%. There's a lot of rules, and you guys can correct me if you want in the comments below, but there's a lot of things that come along with those tax liens. Like, it's not always 18%, sometimes that rate gets bid down. But over time, you also, as a tax lien holder, in New Jersey anyway, you get the right to foreclose on the property and take ownership, and you can even take ownership ahead of a mortgage and knock everything else out that's behind that tax lien. So it's a great investment to do, but if the taxes are not that expensive on a property, say maybe $1,000 a quarter, you could take $1,000 and buy a tax lien. So that's a nice low risk investment you to get yourself into. So there's tax liens. That's one idea. Now, if the particular person that sent in this question happens to have an IRA, or if you watching have an IRA and you're looking to do some investing through your your retirement account, you can do IRA investments. You can invest in tax liens, of course, with those. But there's some really cool stuff you can do with IRAs if you can retain your day job. You can do private loans through your IRA. That's all self-directed IRA investments. I'll write that down here. Self-directed IRA stuff. So a lot of people do loans through self-directed IRAs. I think that's a great thing to do with the self-directed IRA. I happen to have a self-directed IRA myself, and I do loans with that. And the reason I do it is because interest on loans, there's not really a tax benefit to that like there is in owning real estate. You get real estate is a tax leveraged because it's passive income. The rental income is passive income. The interest on a loan is not really tax leveraged at all. So it's great to hold it in a tax deferred vehicle like an IRA, and you can just take the interest that you get and invest it back over and over and over again, right? So let's say you have $100,000 in your IRA. You loan it out onto a real estate project to one of these active guys over here. They pay you back, and they pay you back $105,000. Well, you don't have to pay any tax on that $5,000 because it's all tax deferred. So now you have $105,000 you can loan into the next project, right? So you loan 105, they pay you back 112. You take the 112, and they pay you back 118, and it goes back and forth like that. That's called compounded interest. Okay, a little lesson here. If I have a loan that is compounded, the interest rate on that is here. If I take the number 72 and divide it by the interest rate that I'm getting paid on a compounded interest, if this interest is compounded daily, I'm sorry, but I wish it was compounded annually, okay? That equals how long it'll take that money to double, okay? 2x, okay? Now, that means that if I'm getting paid 7% on a compounded interest loan, which is super, super conservative, you can probably do better than that. But just for conversation, you're getting paid 7% on a compounded interest loan. It'll take 10 years. I'm sorry, 7% over 72 is a little, around 10, right? It'll take 10 years for that money to double. Now again, that's a small victory, not a home run, but if you're of age 30, 40, in that time frame, and you want to take some of your IRA money and look to double it in 10 years, that's great. You can probably do better than 10 years too if you can get a little better than a 7% interest rate. So that's another investment you can get yourselves into is a compounded return. You can also look at other stuff like you can do a turnkey investment if you want. And be careful in selecting your turnkey providers because there's some good ones out there and there's some not so great ones. So be sure you pick the right turnkey provider if you want to do some of those types of investments. I recommend even on turnkeys you schedule some time to go out and physically see the investments every here and again, at least once a year, to go and walk the properties, take a look. I don't see turnkey as 100% passive because there's just a lot going on for that. You want to monitor it. So perhaps that's something that you want to take on as a specific low risk investment, maybe not, but definitely tax liens because those are great investments for people to get into and really low cost. And just read up on them, look it up on Bigger Pockets on tax lien investing because there is some things you need to know before you hop in. So do your research and get yourself an education on it before you go and start throwing money at things like this. So I hope that was helpful, guys. And for whoever submitted that question, I think it's a great question, and I think that it speaks to a lot of folks that want to get into this game, but are liable to their two children that they have and have a mortgage and a job that they like and everything like that, but also want to reap the benefits of real estate investing. So I hope it was a benefit. I hope I answered your question most importantly. So if you'd like to get into a conversation, please do. This is a great conversation to get into about passive investing and ways that folks that have a full-time day job can play the game of real estate investing, because it's not just for active investors like myself. For some of the others out there, there's definitely a lot of room for passive investors to get in and expand their wealth while they do what they love in their job and take care of their family. So thanks again for watching, guys, and have a great profitable week.